He bit the head off a bat. He made metal mainstream. He turned reality TV into chaos. And still, he made you love him. Today, the world lost a legend. Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, has died at 76, just weeks after his final performance. But behind the madness, the music, and the myth was a man whose voice shaped generations, whose pain was public, and whose farewell will break your heart. Just weeks before his death, Ozzy Osbourne stepped on stage one final time. It wasn't a world tour or arena spectacle. It was a quiet charity show for Parkinson's, the disease he had quietly battled for years. He moved slower, looked smaller, but when he gripped the mic, something stirred. His voice cracked, but it still cut through the silence like thunder. It wasn't about perfection, it was about presence, a moment that now feels like a farewell, not just to fans, but to the world. Days later, the news broke. Ozzy had passed away at 76, surrounded by family. No flames, no spotlight, just love. After a lifetime of screaming into the void, he left in silence, and somehow, that silence said everything. Long before the chaos, before the fame, he was just John Osbourne, a school dropout from Birmingham who heard the Beatles on the radio and decided he'd never clock into a factory again. By 1968, he was fronting Black Sabbath, a band that didn't just play music. They invented heavy metal. Ozzy's voice was raw, eerie, unforgettable. His scream became a battle cry for a generation of outsiders. Black Sabbath blew up fast, and so did Ozzy. As the records went gold, the drugs kicked in. He drank like a demon and lived like one too. The stories became legend. The bat, the ants, the Alamo. He didn't follow rules. He set them on fire. And somehow, through all the madness, he became the face of an entirely new genre. Ozzy didn't just sing about darkness. He was the darkness, and the world loved him for it. By 1979, Ozzy's demons had caught up with him. The drugs, the alcohol, the chaos. It stopped being wild and started being dangerous. He was missing shows, slurring through interviews, and spiraling into darkness. Eventually, even Black Sabbath had to let him go. The band he helped build fired him, and Ozzy hit rock bottom alone. His first marriage collapsed. He barely saw his kids. He drank until he forgot who he was. But through it all, he never lied about the pain. "You don't stop being a drug addict just because you stop using," he once said. The honesty made him human. The pain made him real. And just when it looked like the story was over, someone stepped in and gave him one last shot at redemption. Just when it looked like Ozzy was done, Sharon Arden stepped in. She saw something in him no one else did. Not just a broken addict, but a voice worth saving. She became his manager, his lifeline, and eventually, his wife. And with her help, Ozzy got clean enough to make music again. Then came Crazy Train. It wasn't just a hit, it was a rebirth. Ozzy was back, louder and sharper, not as the ex-Sabbath frontman, but as a solo force of nature. Together, Sharon and Ozzy built a career that defied the odds. The madness was still there, but now it had direction. And once again, the world couldn't look away. In 2002, Ozzy did the unthinkable. He became a reality TV dad. The Osbournes showed a new side of the metal legend, confused, hilarious, yelling Sharon while losing the remote. The bat-biting rocker was now the lovable mess in sweatpants, and audiences couldn't get enough. For a new generation, Ozzy wasn't just a rock star, he was relatable. Behind the chaos was a real family, full of love, dysfunction, and charm. He didn't try to clean up his image. He let the world see the madness, and somehow, it made him more iconic than ever. By the time Ozzy Osbourne revealed his Parkinson's diagnosis in 2020, most people already suspected something was wrong. He had become visibly slower, his speech a little more slurred, his posture hunched. But when he finally said it out loud, sitting beside Sharon on Good Morning America, holding her hand, looking like a man who'd spent decades learning how to survive, the world fell silent. Ozzy, the unbreakable force of heavy metal, the man who had cheated death more times than anyone could count, was now facing a battle he couldn't outscream, outdrink, or outtour. But in true Ozzy fashion, he didn't retreat. He didn't disappear into the shadows. Instead, he did what he always did. He fought back with music. In 2022, Patient Number 9 dropped like a defiant middle finger to mortality. The album was dark, haunting, and somehow still filled with life. It earned him 2 more Grammys and reminded everyone that Ozzy's voice, that iconic, eerie wail, still had something to say. He didn't want pity, he wanted a mic. And fans responded in droves, because no matter how frail his body became, his spirit stayed electric. He kept recording, he kept performing, and even when it was clear he couldn't go on stage like he used to, he still tried. There was never a dramatic farewell tour, only a quiet, persistent refusal to stop creating. That's what made Ozzy more than just a legend. He was a man who never gave up the fight, even when the fight moved inside his own body. And in those final years, the wild man who once sang about war and madness became something entirely new, a symbol of resilience. Ozzy Osbourne may be gone, but his voice will outlive all of us. Not just in the tracks that defined heavy metal, but in the cultural DNA of music itself. From headbangers blasting war pigs in their garages to hip-hop producers sampling Crazy Train in clubs, Ozzy wasn't just a genre, he was a language. His fingerprints are all over modern music. 5 decades, 20 albums, 2 inductions into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, once with Black Sabbath, once as a solo artist. Very few artists can say they helped invent a sound. Even fewer can say they reinvented themselves over and over again, and somehow got louder every time. But Ozzy's legacy isn't just about sound. It's about survival, about laughing in the face of death, addiction, humiliation, and illness, and still walking on stage, mic in hand, ready to burn the house down one more time. It's in the rebellious teens who blasted Iron Man to piss off their parents. It's in the parents who later found themselves laughing along with the Osbournes on MTV. And now, it's in the kids of those parents, hearing Ozzy in movie soundtracks, video games, even TikToks, not knowing they're falling in love with a ghost who never stopped screaming. Because Ozzy didn't just live a wild life, he outlived it. He turned pain into performance, chaos into charisma, and self-destruction into a resurrection story. He taught generations how to fall hard and come back harder. And now, even in silence, he's louder than ever. In the end, Ozzy didn't leave the world in a blaze of pyrotechnics or to the sound of screaming fans. He left quietly, surrounded by family, held by the people who had stood beside him through every tour, every relapse, every resurrection. Just days after his final performance, with his body failing but his spirit still flickering, the Prince of Darkness slipped away in silence. No spectacle, no chaos, just love. Sharon by his side, his children close, a family that had seen it all, and still loved him through every version of himself. There's something poetic about that. A man who lived so loudly, dying so gently. As if after decades of fire and fury, Ozzy finally found peace. His daughter Kelly had just gotten engaged. The family had been sharing meals, memories, quiet laughter. Maybe, on some level, he knew the curtain was about to fall. And maybe that's why that final concert felt so different, like a whisper wrapped in distortion. A soft goodbye from a man who never believed in soft goodbyes. And now, the world says its own. Not with tears, but with turned-up radios, with bat tattoos, with teenagers screaming "Crazy Train" from car windows, with families rewatching the Osbournes just to hear him mutter, "Sharon," one more time. He may be gone, but the echo of Ozzy Osbourne is eternal. Legends never truly die. They just leave echoes. So if Ozzy's music was ever there for you in a dark moment, if you ever cranked Crazy Train through your headphones to block out the world, if you ever laughed at his mumbling on MTV or screamed the words to Iron Man from the backseat of a car, then this is your moment to say thank you. Drop your favorite Ozzy memory in the comments. Tell us the first time you heard his voice. Tell us what song still gives you chills. Let the noise live on, because that's what Ozzy would have wanted. And if this tribute moved you, if you believe that legends like Ozzy deserve to be remembered loud, raw, and unfiltered, hit that subscribe button. We tell the stories of icons not just because they were famous, but because they mattered. Ozzy Osbourne wasn't just a rock star. He was a survivor, a father, a husband, a madman, a miracle. And though he's left the stage, the show will never really be over.